Alrighty, folks, today we're talking about stress. And really, when we think about stress, the definition here, stress is one way of defining it is pressure or tension exerted on a material or object, which is going to cause it to change. Somehow that didn't get added in there. Sorry about that. There's another definition of stress, which is a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or demanding circumstances. So by the first definition, that's good stress. When you think about stress, you know, we got the picture of the guy here doing a bar or a dumbbell curl. And so he is exerting tension on the material and he's changing it because he's doing that curl. He is building his muscle. He's getting stronger. So some stress is good. The other picture is the guy who's like at work. He's got the pile of paperwork. He looks like he's about ready to just walk out and quit. That's, you know, your bad stress. So, you know, the old adage of, you know, the fact that pressure makes coal into diamond, that is stress changing something. So sometimes stress helps us. Stress can harden us. Even, you know, negative stress like this guy, he might be feeling stressed and he might figure out some way of accomplishing a task and suddenly now be better, you know, for it. Or it could be negative, much like over here. If you lift too much and you strain a muscle and you destroy a muscle, you could end up with an injury. So there's pros and cons on both sides of these definitions. All right, so typical stress in law enforcement, you know, we've got stuff like our shift work, working long hours, you know, working 10 or 12-hour shifts where most people are only working 8, getting that overtime, or we end up, you know, working on our days off. You know, the idea too of maybe expecting to be done with work at a specific time and then being told, no, you're staying at work for a while. Missing out on family events. You know, you've got Christmases and you got to work. You've got other holidays. You've got weddings where, you know, the schedule is posted and nobody's going to trade with you, so you're not going to go to that family wedding. Our sleep schedules, you know, everybody else is awake and you're asleep in the daytime. Likewise, our disruption of sleep, the fact that you work night shift, you're sleeping during the daytime, but you have to go to court today, so you are not going to sleep because you have to stay up. And then we get our eating habit disruptions. You know, we don't get meal breaks. I mean, technically, yes, you are allowed a meal break, but if it's busy, you're not going to stop what you're doing until, you know, hey, time out, no more criminal investigation, I have to go take a meal break. It doesn't work that way. In an office setting, yeah, you can set your phones to go to voicemail and you can go eat lunch. But for us, if people are calling 911, we don't get lunch. We go and we handle calls. Speaking of calls, you know, we get our violent calls. You know, the fact that we're just dealing with violence, which means we see people who are injured or dead. We have to use force on people. It is not a good feeling. You should not be coming into this job hoping that you get to hurt somebody. You know, having really busy shifts is stressful because you're running from call to call to call and you don't know what you're doing. Likewise, our slow shifts can be stressful for us because there you are, you're sitting, you're waiting for something to go on, and you're just like, you know, man, time. Well, it feels like I've been on shift for 12 hours already and it's been 15 minutes. This is going to be a long shift. So both can be very stressful for us. Don't forget our politics, you know. Inter-office politics, people who do or don't like each other. Also the outside politics. We can't help it when politicians make decisions about, you know, what kinds of enforcements we are going to be doing, changing in laws, any of those kinds of things that we have to be you know, be involved in, even though we're not involved always in the decision-making process. So just kind of remember, you know, good stress, bad stress, you got to find your sweet spot, you know. Sometimes you're too bored. Sometimes you're like, you know, crashing and burning. Sometimes you're, you know, in a spot where things are going kind of good, and sometimes you're like at a spot where you're on the edge of freaking out. So see what we can do to keep ourselves in that middle there as it relates to keeping busy, balancing home and work life, all those kinds of things. So, which then gets us into how do we cope with stress? Take care of yourself, folks. Take care of yourself. You know, eat good. Yeah, eating's a problem on shift. I get it. Try and eat good off shift. Carry some snacks with you so that if you start to get hungry, you can have a snack, you know, and a healthy snack too, so you're not stopping at Quick Trip and getting a donut or getting something that might not be good for you. If you are stopping at Quick Trip, think about what might be better for you as an option than something else. Exercise. Try and do it on a regular basis. Stretch too when you're on shift. If it's slow, like I said in class, you know, get out of your squad car, go for a walk. Do some stretching exercises that you will feel better. When you get a chance, go to the gym. Working out releases endorphins, makes you feel better, helps you deal with some stress. Get good sleep. Even if you've got disrupted sleep habits, get good sleep. Do what it takes to get yourself good sleep. Shut off your phone, unplug it, black out curtains, whatever. But get some good sleep and give yourself a break. When you feel stressed, say, back off. I need a break. I need to take a step back. Talk to folks. When things are stressing you out, talk to a coworker, a friend, counselor, doctor, pastor, whatever. Talk to them. Don't self-medicate. Drugs, alcohol, not good. Obviously, drugs for the most part are illegal, so that's kind of a non-issue. Alcohol, be smart about it. Sometimes it feels good to go out, talk with your friends, have a drink. That's one thing. It's when you're drinking every day, that's bad. Or you're drinking on a regular basis. And hey, look at this. We're saying it again. Take a break. Take a break. Take a day off. If there's overtime and you've been working lots of overtime, say no. Just say, no, I'm taking a day off. Sit down, relax, be cool. Go on vacation. Get away. If you are in Vegas, if you are at Disney, the PD can't call you. Go on vacation. Go somewhere. Enjoy it. Something else that we have to deal with relating to stress. Hopefully you read the Emotional Survival book. If not, get it out, read it. It's not thick. It doesn't take long to read. There's some really good pearls of wisdom in there. And I know some of you are saying, I'm young, I don't have to worry about this stuff. You'll be old eventually, hopefully. One of the things that we see in law enforcement is, and that can be a big stressor for us, especially when we have spouses of one form or another, is something called hypervigilance. And what happens here is the chart here, this is similar to one that's in the book. You've got these two black lines, and this is our normal range of risk. So this is basically normal everyday world. And the average person, normal everyday world, we're kind of operating in here. You're driving down the road, so you might be a little more alert and attentive so you don't get into a car crash. And when you're at home on your couch, you're not so much alert and attentive, but you kind of got an ear open in case you hear a car door in the driveway, but we're not really thinking that anything bad's going to happen. So as police officers, we tend to, on shift, be outside of this normal range of risk because we know that we are out there on patrol. We're looking for people who are committing crimes. We're looking for the criminals. So we're perpetually scanning our environment. We're searching for, the faces of known criminals. We're listening for the sights or we're listening for the sounds of things going on. We're looking for anything out of the ordinary, whether it be things we see, behaviors, smells, so that we know that there's a threat here. Well, you spend too much time up here in hypervigilance, you have a rebound. When you get off duty, boom, you go down below your normal level of attention, of alertness, of being awake. Basically, this is exhaustion. Mentally, we're up here. A lot of times this is even described as, you think about something as simple as a traffic stop. You're making lots of decisions too. You're making a decision to make the traffic stop, to write a ticket, to give a verbal warning. You're at that traffic stop. You're constantly looking to make sure that this person is not a threat to you. And so now we go home. We don't want to make any decisions. We don't want to be involved in anything. So we crash, we burn. I have experienced this. This is something we need to warn people we're dating about. Even if you are dating somebody in law enforcement, or if you have a roommate, you need to warn your friends and colleagues about, or non-work colleagues about. But I experienced this one of the early in my career. I lived with another police officer. We had a place together, and his name was Dan. And there would be days where if Dan and I were on the same schedule, where we were working the same shift, we'd get off duty, he'd go home, sit, he'd be on one couch, I'd be on the other couch, and be like, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I'm kind of hungry. You want to get dinner? Yeah. What do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? And we'd go back and forth like that for an hour. You'd turn on the TV, and it would be like, we'd go through the dial. We'd stop at every channel, going through the dial. Want to watch this? I don't know. Do you want to watch it? change the channel. You want to watch this? I don't know. You want to watch this? It got to be the point where, you get like a routine going on, say, where you couldn't decide on eating, so we'd, order Domino's pizza or something because the coupons were sitting out. Well, of course, now you're eating Domino's pizza 3-4 days a week. As a matter of fact, the reason I bring that up, it was actually a really good joke, was when I was living with Dan, our Domino's pizza burned down. And so a bunch of the officers at the department passed the hat and created a collection to feed Dan and Joe because, we couldn't order pizza anymore, that we would have to go other places to eat. But it was true, and this was before I'd learned about hypervigilance. Then when I learned about this, I was like, oh my God. And so now you see where maybe meal planning and some of those things that a few of you were talking about when you did your food journal, why this is important. Because now you're making a decision when you're kind of here in a normal thing. So you've got, we worked 3 or 4 days in a row. So our work days we're up here, and now we're crashing. And there comes a point where you go back to normal. So when you're having a normal day and you're making decisions and you are not feeling tired and apathetic, where you can say, all right, on Monday we're doing this, Tuesday's Taco Tuesday, whatever, and so you can meal plan for the week. But I say this too because, when I started dating the woman who's now my wife, I knew about hypervigilance. I knew about a number of these different things that come on with police officers. Probably had ruined some previous relationships, but we don't need to talk about that. But I flat out told her, I said, hey, Heather, just so you know, if I tell you I don't know, that means I don't know, because my brain has shut off. I've made enough decisions that day at work, and I'm closed off. So if you say, what do you want for dinner? And I say, I don't know, that means you make the decision. You put it in front of me, I will eat it. Trust me. And that's why, you get into these things then where you start planning things ahead of time, and you say, so that now when we're feeling that apathetic, you don't have to make a decision because the decision was made 2 or 3 days ago. Something that to be very aware of. Hypervigilance saves our lives, yes. Hypervigilance is a form of stress for us too when we get off duty, because that causes fights. Why can't you make a decision? I don't know. Well, why can't you make a decision? I don't know. It's because the officer literally does not know. It's crazy. When you experience it, you will be amazed. You'll think back to learning about this and reading that book and go, holy cow. All right, so this then gets us into mental health issues. Stress leads into mental health. So if we can take care of our stress, we can take care of our mental health. Depression, PTSD, compassion fatigue, a number of mental health issues that we deal with is our topic for next week. So, take some time and think about stressors in your life. Think about how you cope with your stress. Think about potentially stuff that will become stressors for you when you get out into the world of policing or whatever you do in criminal justice with your degree. And think about potential positive coping mechanisms you can start implementing now, so that when you get out in the field and start working in criminal justice, you don't go to the negative coping mechanisms like drugs, alcohol, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right, if anybody has any questions, as always, I am open and free to, during office hours or anytime you shoot me an email or give me a phone call, I'm happy to talk. Otherwise, I will see you in class next week.